I used to work out a lot with weights, and the check comes doing that. Your joints start to hurt, this, back, knees. It just happens. Sometimes getting in that kind of shape can kill you. There's fantastic trainers like Jeff Cavalier on ATHLEAN-X. His videos are amazing. But at my age, I found the hardest, toughest, most productive way is bands, training with bands.
Yeah, bands are great and all, and this Jeff Cavalier fellow, he's a great guy. But what about Jesse Lako at ATHLEAN-X.com? He is the real star of the show.
I can't disagree with the thing you just said. What's up, guys? Jeff Cavalier at ATHLEAN-X.com. You see, I've always been a Stallone guy. And Arnold, you just gave me more validation as to why. But the fact is, we're talking about bands today, guys. That's what we can all agree on. And you can actually build muscle using just bands. I'm continuing the series. Today, we're talking all about shoulders. What can you do to hit the middle, front, and rear delt? As a matter of fact, hit the whole shoulder together. These are the exercises that you want to focus on. Let's start breaking them down one by one. So when it comes to building bigger shoulders, we're going to start here with the big exercises. You know, the ones that hit all three heads at once. And you can't start without talking about the overhead press. You see, there's a challenge though when it comes to overhead pressing with bands. Usually you're either using something that provides a good amount of tension, but you just can't stretch it far enough when it comes all the way from the ground, or you opt for something lighter and it just doesn't provide enough overload to cause growth. So instead, you do this. And this is the lying one-arm press. And what this does is it fixes the band length problem, because I can start with a bent leg and I can match my strength levels to provide just the amount of tension that's going to create the overload necessary for growth. Of course, as I get stronger, I can creep my foot down further and further, increasing the length of travel and stretch of the band. I could also do something really unique here. I don't have to just settle for the concentric overload. I could actually introduce an eccentric overload as well. Once the band is fully extended up over my head, I push my foot down and try to control the descent of the hand back down to shoulder level. Now let's say I want to do something different. I don't want to go for a tension overload. I want to introduce a metabolic overload to my pressing. Well, I could do this. This is the push press pull apart. And here I could actually focus a little bit more on increasing the time that I'm under tension at the top of the press. So when I press up overhead with two hands, now I actually get a chance to stay there, pull the band apart at the top, and then of course pull it back together, creating an adduction resistance that's making it harder for me to actually get my arms fully extended and my hands close together up over my head. When you're looking to get a little bit more explosive with your overhead pressing, the kneeling up and overs is the way to go. You see, what you do is you anchor the band underneath your knees, and then you put your hands in this prayer position so the band is not bending your wrist back. And you get to this tall kneeling position, and you simply drive this band up overhead as fast and as hard as you possibly can. Speed matters here. We're looking for power. We want to introduce a different stimulus here for those delts. This is going to definitely hit the front and middle delt. The rear delt, not as much. But don't worry, guys. We're going to be hitting those in just a minute. And with our 3 overall shoulder exercises down, now it's time to start working around from head to head to head. And we're going to start right here in the front with the front raise pull apart. You see, this is looking like a traditional front dumbbell raise, except we're doing it with bands. But when we get to the top, we can do something to introduce some new stresses here and prolong the time that we have to spend in this miserable top position of the front delt raise. And this is where we just simply pull the bands apart. And by doing that, yeah, we're going to shift a little bit of that load to the middle and rear delt. But most importantly, what we're doing is prolonging the time under tension that we have at that top, most difficult position of the front raise. If you really want to put a unique stress on the front delts, then you're going to want to do this. And this is the stretch front raise. The band should be anchored behind you in such a way that it actually pulls your arm back into extension, which is going to apply a good pre-stretch on the delt before every single repetition is performed. It's the act of this stretching of the front delt that gives you the stretch reflex necessary to create a more powerful contraction. So what I like to do is not just drive my arm up in front of me, but then control the descent in the eccentric all the way back down. You can literally see the fibers resisting this on every single repetition. Working our way around now to the middle delt, you know you're going to have to do some side lateral raises here. And you can actually do these better than maybe you can with some dumbbells if you know how to apply tension the right way. What I like to do, number one, is not anchor the band under the same side foot that I'm lifting my arm up on, but on the opposite side, because what it does is it gives me a little bit more range of motion in which I can actually apply the resistance of the band. And then I also want to make sure that I grab this thing the right way, because whether I grab a dumbbell or I grab a band with an overhand grip, I'm actually going to be at the mercy of any kind of weakness I might have in my wrist or any pain I might have in my forearm in terms of performing this with peak tension at the top of the rep. What I can do instead with the band is simply grab it this way, anchor it around the back of my hand, and then just focus on lifting up the entire arm. It's not so much focused on what's happening directly at the wrist. Now let's say you have some of those issues at your wrist or forearm, and you still want to take advantage of the gains you can have by doing these lateral raises. You can do the short arc version of this. And that's where you take a band of much heavier resistance, anchor it around your arms like you see me doing here, doubled up around the elbows, and then you simply drive your elbows out away from your body into abduction at the shoulder as much as you possibly can. The fact is, with the moment arm decreased from the long arc version here, you're going to have to introduce a heavier band in order to have the resistance that you're looking for to create the muscle overload. And now, of course, there's one other thing we can do, and this is my favorite variation for growing your shoulders with bands, and it's called the cross body lateral raise. And you can see right off the bat, one great advantage here, similar to the stretch front raise, is I'm getting a stretch on the mid delt. Something that almost never happens in almost any variation of a lateral raise, even when done with dumbbells. You want to get this band across your body to get that pre-stretch and then forcefully drive your arm up and across your body into abduction. You can see the tension that's placed on the middle delt here at the peak contraction. Try to hold it for a second or two, and then again resist that eccentric all the way across your body. But lateral raises are not the only way to hit the middle delts, guys. There's two more ways I want to show you that are incredibly effective at getting the job done. The first of which is actually called the banded high pull. You see, it looks exactly like the high pull that I recommend to you all the time for building bigger shoulders with dumbbells. And what this does is it not only introduces the abduction that we need to get our middle delts, but it has another component here that's so often overlooked, and that is some additional external rotation at the shoulder that can always be beneficial to producing not just strong, but healthy shoulders. So you can see, just like with the dumbbells, I don't want my elbows to beat my hands in the race to the top. If I were to do that, I'd simply turn this into an upright row, which we're not doing. Instead, I want to have the hands be higher than the elbows at the top, which reinforces the external rotation I just mentioned. But we have another option here too. It's called the hip hugger. In the hip hugger, you actually take two individual bands and you double them up just like this, because we're going to need the added resistance. And with your hands hanging now just at your sides, all you want to do is pretend like you're pulling up a pair of pants. Drag your hands up your hips until you get those elbows out into abduction. At the very top of the movement, it's important to hold the squeeze for at least a brief second or two. This is where we want to really reinforce that tension. And now, as I mentioned earlier, that brings us all the way around to the backside, to the rear delt. And the first exercise I want you to do here is called the rear delt pull. You simply wrap the band around your back, and you're just going to do a band pull apart essentially. But how you grab the band is essential to getting the full benefits of this exercise. If you're to grab the band with an overhead grip, the tendency would be to try to actually do an elbow extension to get the band behind the body, but that's only shifting the work to the triceps. Instead, if you grab it like this, now the focus is on moving the entire arm. And with the arm being the focal point of the movement, now you're going to shift all that load to the rear delt doing the reverse fly. But you don't have to do it in standing only. As a matter of fact, you can increase the intensity and the focus one side at a time by doing this, the alternating bent over rear delt pull. You can see the position is the same. As a matter of fact, I get some additional benefits from the down arm in terms of shoulder stability right up into that shoulder blade. Either one of these is a great way to target the rear delt and help to get them to grow, especially if you've been ignoring them for far too long. And that brings us to exercise number 6. You didn't think we'd get through the whole video without doing a face pull, did you? Well, here you go. Here's your obligatory face pull video. Guys, you know I love this exercise. It also gets the external rotation built in to hit that rotator cuff. There's nothing better than a face pull. Maybe whipped cream. But these are good too. So there you have it, guys. Whether you're an Arnold guy or a Stallone guy, the fact is...
Oh, come on, Jeffrey. What about the Jesse guy? Like I said before, he's the star of the show.
Arnold, with all due respect, could you please let me finish my outro?
I'll be back.
Like I was saying, guys, never underestimate the power of bands when it comes to building muscle if you know how to use them. Guys, hopefully now, as far as your shoulders go, you know exactly what to do. If you want to see more of these in this series, make sure you leave your comments below. Tell me what you want to see next and I'll make the video. If you're looking for step-by-step programs, guys, all of them are available over at ATHLEAN-X.com. In the meantime, if you haven't already done so, make sure you click subscribe to turn on your notifications so you never miss a new video when we put one out.
I told you I'd be back.
I'm gone. How about that?
Oh,